Okay, Kristen, let's take a look and see what you've done here in this set of essays. Father staying home, women working. Let's see what you said. Women started fighting for equal rights at the end of the 18th century in the Western world. Today, as a result, females have a more prominent role in society, including the workforce. This has led to a shift in the traditional parental roles, and fathers are becoming a greater part of a child's life, even staying at home caring for the child while the mother enters employment. I do believe this is a positive trend and will provide examples from Scandinavian countries and Oxford University to demonstrate points and prove arguments. Great. Remember that this is not just about whether it's positive or not, but you're also supposed to supply the reasons. So a good thing to do in your introduction is mention that you're also going to talk about the reasons, okay? So let me show you how you could do that. All right, what you could say is, I do believe this is a positive trend and will provide reasons behind it with examples from, etc., etc. Okay? All you need to do is mention somewhere in the introduction that this is going to talk about your position, whether it's positive or negative, and that you're going to address the reasons. Okay? It's not, terribly complicated, but you do have to include these two elements. Because women are becoming a substantial part of the workforce, some countries with a high number of working females, no comma, provide excellent social benefits such as reduced daycare rates and paid maternity leave. Some of these nations also offer additional paid paternity leave, which means fathers have the opportunity to take care of their child while the mother works. For example, Scandinavian countries, all have paid paternal leave subsidized by the government. This encourages the mother to re-enter the workforce, knowing the father will be able to take care of the child at no financial loss for the family, especially when the child is young and the family may be reluctant to send them to kindergarten. Most fathers take this opportunity, and this is now the norm for most young families in Scandinavia. Another reason for fathers staying at home may be the rapid development in technology, meaning you can easily adapt your working hours and work remotely from home. For example, some companies like Google offers, this work arrangement some companies like Google offer this work arrangement to young families. Okay, this was okay, but how can I say this? I'm trying to explain to you what it is that happened. You kept going on and on and on about like this whole thing. And I kind of kept thinking to myself, all right, Kristen, where are you going with this? What are you answering? Remember that this paragraph is supposed to be answering the why there are more women in the workforce while men are staying home. So I felt like you took a bottom up approach rather than a top down. I don't even know if that's a word. Can we say that? A bottom up, a down. I'm not really sure. The expression the opposite way is a top down. You did the other thing. You started from the bottom up, okay? So you started getting to all these details without really telling me what kind of umbrella they fell under. So let me show you what I mean. There are many social changes that have allowed women the option to go to work while men may stay at home. Some countries with a high number of working females, you see, this sentence didn't help you. You're telling me here that there are already a lot of women working. That's not what we want to know. Do you understand? So I kind of feel like these first two sentences are not really relevant. I know that sounds awful, but we want to know why there is this shift. More and more women are working and men are staying home. Okay, so a lot of this felt to me like you weren't really answering the question. You were kind of taking it as a given from potentially a Scandinavian point of view that, you know what, this has always happened, this is always what was. We know women work, and you know what, men, they now are able to stay at home with the kids. No, this is not what the essay is asking you. I want you to imagine that this is something that is in progress. It's something that now is occurring, okay? So think about countries maybe not in Scandinavia, but maybe elsewhere in the world, maybe in Southern Europe, for example, where traditionally women stay at home. They have like, I mean, I know in some countries in Southern Europe, they have like 9 months of maternity leave. There is no parental leave. And so women stay home and they get kind of stuck in where they are in their career. So I felt like your perspective here, not only was the way you organized it kind of awkward, but your perspective was a little off. You were kind of taking it from the perspective that, well, the government has always helped women work and has always helped men stay home. But that's not what the essay was asking you about. The essay is asking you about this shift in the zeitgeist, this shift uh in working relationships and so forth. So let's try it again. So the question is, why is this happening? So maybe you could have talked about education, because more and more women are becoming more highly educated. More of them are entering the workforce in competitive positions. Okay, so that would make more sense in this first sentence. Does that make sense? You're explaining the reason why this is happening, why a man would say, what, you know what, honey, you can work, I'll stay home. You're making a lot more money than I am. All right, so that would make more sense here. So you could say then, as a result, many countries like those in Scandinavia are offering excellent social benefits such as reduced daycare rates and paid maternity leave. Now, this doesn't help your argument though, does it? Because if there are reduced daycare rates and paid maternity leave, then why are men staying home? Does that make sense? So some of the stuff you were talking about here, while it's really interesting, it doesn't help your argument. Okay? So let's go back and say what we said before. Because many women, more and more, are becoming more highly educated and are entering more competitive positions, they're earning more potentially than their spouses are. As a result, it makes more financial sense for the woman to work while the man stays at home. This is particularly true in some nations which offer paid paternity leave, like in Scandinavia, which means that fathers have the opportunity to take care of their child while their mother works. And then this works. Do you understand? So I really felt like this first part didn't help you at all. Not really at all, okay? And then this made sense. And this made sense. All of this made sense. Of course, you were talking purely about Scandinavia. It would have been nice if you had made it just a little more general, all right? Because it's pretty well known throughout the world that Scandinavia is very progressive when it comes to these kinds of laws. And it's kind of like the model for the rest of the world, but the rest of the world is really not following at a very quick pace. So, um, while these examples are wonderful, it's not really representative of what most of the rest of the world is experiencing. Okay, so um okay, and then here I think you could have maybe said one more word about this. Therefore, while fathers may be at home, they are in fact working, helping support the family and continuing their career. Okay, so that would have been a nice sentence to add as well. All right. In my opinion, fathers devoting a period of their lives to solely care for a child is a positive development. I know Word didn't like it, but I liked it. The reason for this is twofold. Firstly, women entering the workforce and continuing their professional life instead of pausing or ending their career for several years after having a child, you don't need that comma, ends up with a greater what? Women entering. this should be an end up with greater financial and social benefits, such as a more stable income, a better superannuation contribution, and of course, exploring and developing their talents. Can you go into a little more detail? Can you tell me an example of this? Secondly, both father and child have an opportunity to create a special bond at an early age, benefiting both individuals greatly. A study conducted by the University of Oxford found children spending a considerable amount of time with their fathers from an early age, no comma, experience both better mental and physical health as adolescents. The study also found a lower divorce rate among couples who share the responsibility of parenting equally. Beautiful. I like this paragraph very much. No comments about it. To conclude, equal rights for women have resulted in better opportunities for fathers to take part in their child's life and for both sexes to maintain a career throughout their lives. I believe this is a positive development as it creates better financial and emotional stability for both the individual and the family as a whole. Great, great, great. So the second half was beautiful. I loved it. No problems, no complaints. Really, really, really well done. The first part had some issues. Okay. Again, it was just a little bit about relevance. It was about making sure that you were looking at this from an examiner's viewpoint, if that makes sense. Okay. So how would the examiner look at this? What would the examiner think about? You also have to remember something else. The examiner may not live where you live. So the examiner could be in England, for example. The examiner could be in like another part of the world and may not have as a given some of the things that you have as a given. So keep that in mind. All right, so I've moved on. I've gone to this line graph with rainfall. It's a tricky one, 36 pieces of information. I know a lot of students struggle with this, so let's see what you did. The line graph, it's just one. The line graph depicts the amount of rainfall measured in millimeters throughout the year of 2018 in England, Scotland, and Wales. Overall, the rainfall in Scotland had the greatest fluctuation, while England's rainfall was high but steady throughout the year. Wales experienced the driest consecutive period out of the three nations. This is great. I might not have said it like this, but I like what you said, so it's very good. Scotland saw the greatest difference in rainfall with highs of around 120, 130 in January, March, July, and October. The driest months experienced, no, the driest, no, let's try it again. The driest months experienced were February, April, and November, measuring between 25 and 50. Good. May, June, August, September, and December, measured between 75 and 110. Okay. Wales also saw a considerable amount of rainfall fluctuation throughout the year. Their highest amounts peaking in May, July, and November, measuring what? No. Their highest amounts peaked in May, July, and November, measuring between this and this. Full stop. The remaining months were relatively dry with rainfall between this and this on average per month. Wales also saw the driest consecutive period out of all nations, August, September, and October, with around 40 ml on average per month. That's great. In contrast, England had a far more stable rain pattern. Its driest months measured between 75 and 80 in March, May, June, and October, whereas the remaining months all measured between 110 and 25. Okay, so I gotta say something to you that's really, really interesting here. This is not how I do it, but I actually really liked it. And one of the reasons why I know I really liked it is because I didn't have to look at it. I didn't have to refer back to the chart to see if your figures were accurate or not. You did a very kind of interesting look at it. So I thought your treatment of England was really interesting. Maybe I might have wanted a little more, but I actually really liked what you did. So let me show you where in like Ellen's mind this is supposed to be, okay? So, all right, assume you've written your introduction, assume you've written your overview. I typically start with Scotland, okay? I would say that Scotland started the period at the highest point at whatever that number is, 120. The following month saw its lowest point at 20. And then the following month after that saw its first of two peaks In March, it peaked at 130, and it peaked again in October. Okay. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. It ended after additional fluctuation throughout the year. It ended the year in December at just over 100 ml. Then I would start with England. England started the year at the second highest point. It started at roughly 100 and whatever that is, 120, 110. Okay. After some fluctuation, it had its lowest point in at 75 ml in June. Okay. And after this, it continued to have fluctuation, but had three peaks of approximately 130 at July, September, and it ended the year in December at the same. Okay, and then obviously for Wales, you say that it started at the lowest. It had this really low. It had this peak in July, which is the highest figure throughout the chart, at least kind of the highest. And it had this period of stability, and then it ended the year just above where it began the year. So more or less, I picked the same data points that you did. It's just our treatment of them was differently. And I actually really liked yours. I thought you did a really good job of it. So I'm quite happy with it. Okay. Really good job. I think you have another set coming up, don't you? I'm looking forward to it. So let's see what you write for us.